Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and welcome to another video in our 100 Days of Rust and Go. I think we're on day 8 at this point, so on the loose track, but today we're going to be covering functions. So in the last video we kind of talked about like vectors and arrays and all that stuff. Now the focus here is going to be more on functions. How do I write a functions? I think last time was like conditionals and loops actually. So let's do Go first. Now the great thing about a compiled language is that it tells you exactly how to write a function by just looking at it. So I can see like, oh, you just use the keyword func and give the function a name. So let's do that. Now the thing is I don't have to do it inside, like I can define functions outside of the main the main function. I could do something like this. I could say func, print name. Okay, and then it takes in a name variable, which is going to be a string, and then it's going to return a string. And that is what this function does. So then we're going to return hello, how are you, name. And let's see here. Oh yeah, that's right. No colons in typing in Go. There we go. So we're saying, hey, this is a string type parameter called name, and this returns a string. So that's what that tells us. Okay. And now what I want to do is do fmt.println whatever string print name returns when I give it the name of Alex Merced. Okay, so now I will run this. Go. Let's see here. I'm in the right folder. Let's close all these. Actually, I don't think I have the folder open yet. So right click, open integrated terminal. Go run.go. See, hello. How are you, Alex Merced? Okay, you can pretty much do whatever you want on function. So again, this is I'm doing the series assuming you've used other languages before. So like, it's just once you know how to do a function, you kind of know what you can do with a function. And again, so I can have as many parameters as I want. I can type the return value, and then again the ID will tell me, am I screwing up, which is always nice. Okay. There are other things I'd like to talk about when it comes to return values, and actually I think if I remember right in Go, can you return multiple values in Go? Let me see here. Well, what you do is you would return a tuple. Okay, so if I wanted to return multiple values, I would do something like this. I'd say, okay, I want to return like a string and a number, or an int. Okay, and then what I have to do here is I have to actually wrap this in a tuple and sit there and say, hey, I want to return that in 55. Okay. Unexpected comma, expecting. Actually, what happens if I take off the parentheses? And then it works. Okay, so yeah, I don't even need to wrap that. So it's not exactly like a tuple. I can actually return multiple values. I just have to delineate what I'm returning here. Okay, and then I just separate them by a comma that way. So in this case, I think I'd get an error now. Nope. Okay, because I'm just using the first. It's just going to take in the first return value. But I could also do something like this. I could say var. Okay, or even just do this. Just to say, okay, str num equals print name Alex Merced. Okay, and see, like now it's not complaining because print name does return two variables. So that first thing, the string, will be saved in str, and the second will be saved in num. So now let's try to print those things. fmt.println Stir fmt dot print line num. Okay. And then there we go. Okay, and see, like, the first variable gets the first return value, and this is going to be really important later on when we talk about error handling, because oftentimes what happens is that an error gets returned as the first or second value, and I need to capture it. And this creates a little bit of an issue. You can't have unused values. So in this case, I save them both to a variable. I have to use them somewhere, so I have to at least print them. Okay, although I think if I do something like, let's see here, if I do like an underscore, do I still have to use it? I think I might not. Yeah, I think I may be good if I just do an underscore. Yeah. So when you do an underscore, you can escape it. So theoretically, you could put the error in an underscore. But typically, that's not what you want to do. You want to actually handle the error. So you put the error in there, and then you do like an if statement saying, like, if there's an error, then do this, etc. So we'll get into that when we get into error handling. Okay, but that's functions in Go. Now let's go over the rest. As you can see, we use the fn keyword to write functions in Rust. Okay, so let's write some functions. Let me just clear all this out. And let's see here. Function print name. Okay, and then we're going to want to take in one argument name, which is going to be of type string. And then it's going to return, and the return value you have to use is arrow. Just sit there and say what you want to return, and I want to return a string. And yeah. Okay, so in that case, what I want to do is return new string from, because again, if I just return a string, it's going to end up being like a scalar string, and it's going to be a pointer to that string, which is really just an array of characters. I want the string struct to be what I'm sending back, because that's what I typed. Again, there's a difference between string and str, S-T-R, as far as typing goes in Rust. Okay, from hello, how are you? Plus name. Okay, so I think that should do it. So we're getting a new string from this. And then what I want to do is do a print line, and I want to print line print name Alex Merced. I want to print the string that's coming from there. Okay, but again, that's a struct, so really what I gotta do is I gotta do one of these. Okay, and I think there we go. So let me open up the Rust folder. Open. Too early. Okay, so then let's see here. Rust C run.rs. That will compile the file, and then I want to run it. So then it's /run. Okay, and I got some errors. So let's see here. Okay, hello, how are you? Cannot be used to concatenate add string with string. Okay, so should I do this then? String from. Is that what it wants? At least for that first error. Okay, let me just see that. Is that first error expected? At str, found struct string, help consider borrowing here. At name. Ah, borrowing, makes sense. Okay. So if I do this to begin with, would that fix the original problem? See, does that original error still show up? To own can be used to create an own string from a string reference. String concatenation depends on the string on the right to the string on the left. Oh, because I don't want to borrow it, I want to own it. So really what I want to do is do toOwned. Because Different. Borrowing is just saying, hey, can I use it temporarily? Own means I make a copy that can be independently used. So let's see, is that first error out of the way now? With a string. Oh, it wants me to own both of them. To owned. Yay, Rust compiler for giving me good suggestions. Okay, let's see, is that first error gone? That first error is not gone. Expect that sure, but found struct string. Help consider borrowing here. Okay, so I'm borrowing so I can borrow the string value. Okay, so does that eliminate the error now? Okay, good. Wait, nope, not quite. Yeah, but that's what I got. Unless, oh no, I ran it again. Oh, and now I only have one error. Okay, print name Alex Merced. Expected a string. Oh, that's right. So I need to do string from. There we go. Actually, I think I'm missing a parenthesis. Yep. Okay, so see, this takes Alex Merced, creates a new string from that string, passes it to print name returns a string, and then that's going to get interpolated. And hello, how are you, Alex Merced? But otherwise, like, you know, function works the same way. I type the variables and do a string. Now, in this case, if you did want to return multiple values, you could do a tuple. So if I want to return like a string and a number, I would do that, and then we'll say an I32. Okay, and then basically what I have to do is wrap this in a string, or wrap this in a tuple, so another parenthesis. And then second number will be like 35, let's say. Okay, so that's all. It doesn't mind it. But now here's where things get a little bit complicated. I can't just print it, because it returns, right now it's going to return a tuple. So I could technically print the tuple by doing this. Okay, and see I get this tuple. Okay. So but what I need to do is that if I want to just use that first string, because tuples are not, it's not like the tuple in Python where you can kind of access it like an array. It's just like a fixed array. A tuple here in this case is just a sequence of things, and the only way for me to really get the values out of it is to destructure it in some way. You know, so there's a couple different ways I can do that. I'm going to use the match off the top of my head. So I'm just going to say var result. Oh no, let result. Let result equal print name string from Alex Merced. So that'll get us the tuple saved in let result. And then what I can do is I can do a match. I want to say match result. And then I have to define the different possible. So match does pattern matching, which is actually a new, exactly the same way it works here. It's going to be the new feature that's going to be released in Python 3.10 in October. But let's see here if I remember how I would do this. So in this case, I want to define the tuple. So I'm going to say here the string and the num. And if that's the case, do this. But wait, the question is it a fat arrow or a skinny arrow? Okay, so let's go back over here. Let's go back to match. Okay, they're fat arrows. Okay, so basically what I would do here is I would do a fat arrow, and then I would just say, okay, string. I'm just take a look at that again. String. There is a version of the tuple. Okay, types. Primitives, tuples. See a version with a match. Okay. Well, you could destructure tuples that way. That's another way. We'll do that too. Well, I think that kind of technically works. Basically what this means is that this could be anything, like whatever is the first thing in the tuple will end up being in this variable called string. Actually, I shouldn't use stir because that's kind of a thing in Rust. My string, and then whatever the second thing in the tuple is. So if it's a tuple of 2 items, it'll match that pattern. Doesn't matter what those 2 items are because I didn't type them or anything. I'm just saying, hey, there's a tuple of 2 items, but the first item here. You can get more detail with pattern matching. You can sit there and say like what types these things are, all sorts of different things. So I'm going to say, hey, if that's the case, what I want to do is do a print line of, my string. And that's all I want to do. Again, do I need to do a semicolon after that? Go back to match. Match. No. Okay. Cool. And then you do this. This is just the catch-all, which I don't want to do anything with it. Let me just see, how do they do that? Print line. Okay. So basically, bottom line is if it didn't match, this line would run. Let me see, do I have the semicolon after that line? No. Okay. Cool. So these are like the 2 different patterns. Okay. So the idea here is if it's a tuple of 2 items, if this is again matches anything. So I'm saying, hey, run result through this match. Like, does it match any of these patterns? And if it matches a particular pattern, then do this thing. Okay, so now let's try it. Run.rs. Print line due to previous error. Let's just see here, print line, not a function. Oh, because I forgot the exclamation point. But the fact that I got to that point, that's not a bad thing. Okay. Hello, how are you, Alex Merced? So you see it worked. It recognized the pattern. So we didn't get because the function returned the right thing. And the thing matched the pattern. Okay. Now it's complaining that this pattern is unreachable. Prefix it with an underscore num. And then it's complaining that, hey, I didn't use this variable, so if you really just don't want to use it, prefix it with this. Okay. Okay. There we go. So going to complain because there's no possibility this will ever be anything other than that tuple. But you could return multiple items, then use matching. The other way I could have done this, another way to destructure a tuple, is I could have just done like let my string and num equal result. And that also would have the same result. It'll just automatically destructure the tuple. Be like, okay, the first value goes in my string, the second value goes in num. Okay, and then I could just have done print line boop 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 my string semicolon. Okay, and this should work. It might complain about the unused num. I'm going to do the previous error. Let's see what the error was. Okay, unexpected comma in pattern. Is it a comma? Let's go back to primitives, tuples. Oh no, they still wrapped it in a parentheses. So it would be like this. There we go. See, was there any other issues? Try adding parentheses to match on a tuple. Match on multiple alternatives. Okay. And there we go. And it works. So that's like the quicker way to structure a tuple if you know that's what you're getting. Or you can do a match. There's lots of different kind of ways of doing things in Rust. Some of them more verbose than others. Just depends on what you're trying to do. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So you learned a little bit about writing a function. We kind of did our first sort of round of like pattern matching in Rust. I don't think there's pattern matching in Go, but I think there is switch statements in Go. No, I don't think there was. Yeah, no, there is. There is. And the cool thing in Go is they actually have like switch statements based on types, where you can actually do different cases based on the type of the variable. So that's cool. But we haven't gotten quite to interfaces and all that, and custom types and all that stuff yet. So Coming soon. We did functions. I might do some more functiony stuff like error handling first, and then we'll start getting into like structs and struct methods and stuff like that. Okay, well, I'll see you all later on. Have a great day and enjoy.